Hi everyone, thank you so much for checking out our student shorts and for sticking around for the Q&A. I am very pleased to introduce our filmmakers, so please join me in welcoming Bridget Maloney, Director of Blocks. All right, Francesca DeFusco, Director of Friends Like That. Kenya Gillespie, Director of Michelle. And camera's Bruce Nelson, Director of Pillars.
How's it going?
All right, thank you all for joining us and for sharing your films with us. What I love about a short film is that just because of the condensed runtime, you have to hit the ground running the second the film starts. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how all of your ideas came to be and how you started working what I'm sure were big ideas into such a small runtime. So Bridget, we'll start with you.
Hi, great, thanks. Thanks for having me. I was inspired to make Blocks by my own experience as the mother of two small children. And I had this idea that originally I was just going to shoot as with no dialogue, just a page of a woman cleaning up breakfast dishes and cleaning up after her family, and then vomiting Legos and rinsing them off and putting them away. And from there grew this idea of, I was like, could I open this up into a larger idea that was still this visual metaphor? And the answer was yes, I could, and I did, and that's what the movie is. Does that answer your question, Rebecca? Okay, great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Francesca, with Friends Like That, we're really plopped right down into the middle of your characters' lives, and we just see what happens in this one moment in time from a breakup through recovering.
Yeah, I kind of just hope that it would make sense to people, even though there was not a lot of setup or background. And I think that even if it doesn't totally make sense, it's still like odd enough to be funny at parts. But yeah, I don't know if I accomplished making sense. But I kind of wanted to just, it started actually with just somebody trying to pass the time after a breakup and how they can try to make themselves feel better. And then visiting an ex was just a part of that. And then I actually just rooted the whole story in that experience.
Cool. And then Kenya with Michelle, we really just are thrown right into this girl's life. How did you settle on Michelle Kwan and shape this story?
Yeah, I mean, I think to answer your questions, when I think of a short film, I usually think of, just creating a moment, because there is, like you said, not a lot of time to, tell a story or, get across the ideas that you want. But the inspiration for my film was based on an experience that I had when I was around that age in 5th grade, where I was bullied after school on a playground. And that moment has always stuck with me, for good or for bad, but I really wanted to capture that feeling. And also around the same time, I was like obsessed with Michelle Kwan, as I think a lot of people are. And so combining those two ideas together was sort of the goal of this film.
That's great. And then Cameron with Pillars, we're really given no context except that there's these two girls who don't say much at all. And we see where we go from there. Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty strict Christian household. And so I knew that I wanted to do something without dialogue and sort of an exploration of friendship and sort of platonic friendship and romantic friendship, and where that sort of line is, if it's even a line. It's more of like an area to explore. And I was sort of interested in just letting these two actresses that I've worked with a couple of times just kind of explore that. And yeah, so it's kind of based on sort of watching my mom kind of like struggle growing up in that environment, and also my own struggle with the confines of a strict sort of ideology that kind of runs your life, and putting that into a Mennonite community, and just having read some of the memoirs of the women in those communities sort of inspired that story.
On the flip side, I want to jump back to the writing process, because what I love about all of your films is that nothing is tied up in a nice, neat bow. There's no satisfactory, happy ending in any of these movies. We're just left a little further down the road from where we're started. So Bridget, I want to jump back to Blocks and talk a little bit about your decision to end this movie with Claire's characters in her hut with no rhyme or reason for what's happening to her. We're just left with an image of her in there.
Yeah. I wanted I don't explain what happens because I feel like there is no explanation. I kind of wanted to do the body horror of early parenthood, and all the changes that happen to your body and sort of the mysterious nature, even if you know what's happening. And yeah, so even when things are like super easy and great as a parent, it's still very challenging and unrelenting, and there's no escape. So I like the idea of her carving out this space for herself, but you can see like that's not sustainable. You can't live in a Lego hut in your living room. You maybe only have 10 minutes in there max. So I wanted to end the movie that way, that like she was able to set some boundaries. Gets kind of heavy-handed there, but that it's not going to be sustainable, that this is just like a short-term solution for this lifelong situation.
I love that moment too, where she's just like, maybe I should have built this upstairs, but we're here. So, yeah. All right. So Francesca, we're going to come to you next. I would love to talk a little bit about the ending of Friends Like That. Cause you just leave us on the stairs. We don't find out, what's happening with the ex or what's happening with the friend. We're just left in this emotional moment. So can you talk a little bit about deciding to end your film in that place and not go on further like it felt like it maybe could have?
Yes, I think I just wanted to end it in a way that kind of, the nature of their behavior is so cyclical, like the exact same thing was just going to keep happening. So one is on the bathroom floor and one is waiting in the stairwell with no clothes. Like it's not good for either of them. Yeah, it's kind of like a big in between. It'll happen.
Super relatable moment too.
Yeah.
That's good. And then Kenya with Michelle, I was bracing myself for backlash from these bullies after she just performed this wonderful routine of Michelle's. Can you talk a little bit about deciding to end just on her like happy smiling face, content with where she was?
Well, first of all, I think the story is all about her, and her journey. It's not at all really about these other boys, who are making fun of her. And so for me, like the ending feels like a satisfactory way to end her story, right? Because she finally has the courage and the confidence to perform this routine, whether it's real or fantasy, in her head. So that to me was like, I think the important thing was to have this ending for her as the character.
Yeah, it's such a powerful image to end on, that happy smiling face too.
Yeah, because I think throughout the film you don't see that, right? You don't see her smiling throughout the movie, right? Finally her.
Yeah. And then Cameron with Pillars, I feel like we're in and out just as quickly as we can be. Can you talk a little bit about leaving things so open-ended with your two characters? Obviously, I feel like there's not much they can do if one is getting ready to be married, but...
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, I'm kind of sort of hoping that it leaves the audience with some sense of hope in the fact that, that their friendship, like even just in a glance, having just spent even 10 minutes with this character can be so meaningful. And the fact that just looking into each other's eyes can be sort of all of the reassurance and security that they need for each other to know that they'll always be in each other's lives. And I wanted to leave it open-ended in a sense of, we just don't know in which capacity. There's plenty of women who have chosen to leave communities like that because they didn't feel like, they had a voice or that their identity was supported, And so that in that glance, I was hoping that there could be the weight of of some of those ideas. And yeah, I thought Isabel did such a wonderful job with that. It took quite a bit of time, but couldn't have asked for anything better.
They were both so compelling, and all those close-ups too, you're really just in there with them. You feel for them. So your shorts all deal with some kind of heavy stuff, some more serious matters, but they all seemed like they were very fun places to film. So I'm just, as we're all stuck in our houses, reflecting back on these shoots, do you have any fun stories from the set? I'd imagine Bridget with all those blocks in that hut and all the whatever effects had to be used to get the vomiting of the blocks must have been very fun to accomplish.
It was very disgusting. I actually filmed in my own home, which I will never do again, but we saved money. And my house is built in 1918. It's like not a set, and so that was a real challenge. And those are my children, my real children, which also I think is a thing I will not do again. But I was like, they live here. This will be easy. They know Claire, and they were great. They were great. But we, so yes, there were blocks everywhere. Like the art, it was sort of hard to tell what was imitating what by the end of it, because for months and months, we shot it last summer. It would be like we'd move things and there would be blocks everywhere. But the effect was cool. I wanted to rig it myself, but I'm not a special effects person. But I'm a tinkerer, so I was like, I'll make a vomit cannon. And my producers were like, we're going to hire someone to make a vomit cannon. So we had special effects, we had practical, and we did some green screen stuff that was very gross and really fun. But yeah, it felt very personal. Like a few times when there are actors pretending to have married people sex in my real bed, we bought clean bedding for it. Like I was like, what am I doing? It's like a weird performance art on top of the film. Also, married people's sex can be very fulfilling. I didn't mean to be disparaging. I love it. So, but yeah, it felt very personal to be making this film in my own home with my children. But yeah, it was an adventure. It was a very joyful group, because also we had a lot of parents who were excited to be making a movie that had a sort of different lens on parenthood than you sometimes see, and that was a comedy but dealt with like some existential issues. So yeah, like our camera operator Emilio had twins who were babies, so there was like a lot of commiserating. They're not babies anymore, but yeah, so it was fun. I'm never gonna do it again like that, but it was fun.
I think my new goal is to have built vomit cannon on my resume. See what happens.
It got taken away from me. I rigged like a mini one, and then they were like, we're going to hire this nice man who will do it at a discount because it's a student film.
For the next one. And then Francesca, I'd imagine it was a very small set as you're stuck in that apartment with just two actresses, but they had great chemistry. So I'd imagine just working with the two of them and building out this relationship and all this backstory was a good experience as well.
Yeah, it was really fun. I had them both come over the night before, and we kind of like dressed the apartment and I had them change things so it didn't all feel like my stuff. Like we made a big collage thing like to cover one of my walls. But it was fun. Also, Victoria, the blonde one, helped with costumes too. So we had like picked all their outfits and we did that together. And then in the apartment, it was super weird to shoot at home, but now, given other experiences, I was like, oh, it was so easy. It was so easy. It was convenient. But I think, yeah, I keep thinking about this one experience we had where I had hidden the painting that she presents her, that's the painting of herself, was a surprise. Like, Roberta hadn't seen that until we pulled it out on the take. And I had it hidden in one of the closets, and they were like going through everything. So I kept trying to be like, not there, not here, not there. Like, I couldn't explain why.
I love that that's her genuine reaction that you caught on film.
Yeah, she saw that for the first time. I'm so glad she didn't yell at me or laugh, but it was good.
Oh, that's great. And then Kenny, I'd imagine there was a lot of fun to be had behind the scenes, just getting your young actress to get the moves down for this routine that she has to learn.
Yeah. I mean, it was really, I mean, everything with her was just so fun too, because this was her first time ever being in a film. So she just didn't know, she didn't really know anything about the filmmaking process, but that was, you know, such a joy because she was like, every day was so exciting. But yeah, I think that for me, it was like the dance sequence. And I think for her, that was the most fun thing too, because we had planned that out, me and my DP before, and like my DP was shooting me dancing out the sequence because I was also a Michelle Kwan fan and danced to her in my living room as well. But so we planned that out and then kind of had 4 hours on set to shoot that sequence. And we shot it like 11 times, I think. And so by the end of that, she was, I know, really exhausted. Obviously, we took breaks and stuff like that. But that was such a wonderful time just filming and dancing, you know, and it was probably one of my favorite moments from the set. Yeah.
The happy times of being outside.
I know, yeah. Definitely.
I think, Cameron, I'm sure between the costumes and the beautiful setting that you were in, despite the more serious, silent subject, filming must have had some fun stories for you as well.
Yeah, we were, so we actually filmed, my friend is a park ranger, and she is, she's at this park in Central Texas called Dinosaur Valley National Park. And so she invited us to not only just film there for free, but also to stay in her trailer. So there was it's like a double wide. So there's 4 bedrooms, and they have like an entire family. So it was kind of like our family and their family. And then one funny story was that there was this tree outside that had a lot of locusts in it, like right in the front yard. So every night there would be copperhead snakes that would just crowd around this tree, just waiting for these locusts to drop out of the tree so that they could eat them. So it was, of course, this huge hazard, for any sort of actors. But what was funny is Isabel at first, she's from LA, and she was had never had any sort of contact with any sort of snakes or anything like that. But by night 1, she had a lamp on her head and had the snake grabber. And what you had to do is you had to grab the snakes and put them in a bucket, and then we had to drive the snakes a mile away. And so a lot of our shoot was mildly inconveniencing snakes. So that was, so, and we had to cross a river. And so I actually had to put a crew into the crew into the raft, and I had waiters, and I actually had to pull them across the river. It took probably a good hour, and it was the Oregon Trail, it's we had to get everybody in the raft and just pull them across the river and then come back, because there was no bridge and there wasn't any safe way to do it other than that. So it was fun. It was wild, and we all bonded over it. So it kind of worked out in our favor.
I think having to put snakes in buckets is my new worst nightmare. But unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to thank you all so much for joining us and for sharing your amazing films with us. There's so much more content online, so please continue to check out our virtual cinema, and we will see you soon.